Hello everyone. We will see video streaming through RTSP and RTP. RTSP is an application layer protocol which is basically like a remote control, whereas RTP is a transport layer protocol through which actual data will be transferred. The following are the primary method of RTSP. Setup allocates resources for a stream. Play button starts a data transmission on stream when the setup method is already established. If video is being streamed, then pause button will stop the streaming. Teardown will free the resources allocated. Below are the RTSP operation between client and server. Firstly, connection is established between client and server and setup is created. Then client requests for playing the video on which server responds and sends the audio and video content through RTP. Similarly, if client asks for pause or tear down, then server will respond accordingly. Now I will explain implementation using Python code. Now I will explain server-side code. In server-side code, I will get the server port number from command line argument. After that, I create socket. I bind the socket with the server port number. After that, server started listening. Server received client information through RTSP and TCP session. After getting client information, server construct server worker class and run the function. In server worker class, there is four methods: setup, play, push, turn down. And also there is three variable which is init, ready, and play, which we will use in future. There is also three error status code. First is OK, second is file not found, and third is connection error. When we run the server worker class, then it create the thread for every client and call the function receive RTSP request. In receive RTSP request, we connect the socket with the client and get the data from the client. And if data is present, then we decode that data and called process RTSP request. In RTSP request, we split the data and get request type, file name, and sequence. After using this request, we can move to the setup, play, push, or tear down. First, we see setup. If request type is setup and status is init, then we can move to the setup process. For setup process, we create video stream class and pass the file name. In video stream class, there is three function. First is init, second is next frame, third is frame number. Using init, we get the file number and open file. If there was any error, then it raised the error. Otherwise, it initialized frame number is equal to 0. In next frame, we get the length of frame, and if length of frame is present, then we initialize data is equal to frame length and increase the frame number and return the frame length. In the frame number, we return the frame number of the current video. After that, we allocate session ID to the RTSP and also send OK status. If request type is play, then we change the status playing and create the socket for getting the video from the server and reply status code 200. For the getting the video from the server, we create a different thread and call the send RTP. In the send RTP, we wait for some time for every frame, and if pause or tear down will call, then break the while loop. In the while loop, we get the data from the next frame, and if data is present, then get the frame number, and also we transmit the frame number and data to make RTP. In the make RTP, we have some predefined value like version, padding, extension, CC, maker, file type, sequence number. Using this data, we call the RTP packet. In RTP packet, we create the packet of the different kind of data like version, CC, sequence number, frame number. Here, header size is 12. So, we create the header of 12 bits. After that, we call encode function for the RTP packet. We are passing version, padding, extension, CC, sequence number, marker, PT, SSRC, and payload in the encoder. In encode, in encoder, we specifically define header like there will SSRC. So for that, Using bit operation, I can easily make header in the specific fashion. After that, I assign payload in the payload section. There was also a function called decode, which is used to decode encoded data. If you want to get the data from encoded fashion, then there was a version, sequence number, timestamp, payload type, get payload type of function to get the data from the encoded data. To get the packet, there is also function which will return the combination of header and payload. Make RTP will return the get packet, which is the combination of header and payload. And there is also one function called reply RTSP, which is used to give the response to the RTSP like OK, file not found, or connection errors. Now I am explaining client side of this code. I am getting server address, server port number, RTP port number, and file name from command line argument. After getting this information, I will create GUI in the root. By using this information, I construct the class called client. In client class, there is a 3 status code and also 4 method which we see previously. In this class, we initially call init function. In this, we called create wizard. Create wizard is used to create GUI interface, which is includes setup button, play button, pause button, tear down button. And also there is one label in which we can see our video streaming. Also in this button, when we click the button, there is a 4 different function which is work differently. If we push the setup button, then it's called setup movie. You can see setup function here. If status is equal to init, then it called send RTSP request. Send RTSP request is work like if request code is equal to setup and status code is equal to init, then it create a different thread for the setup of video streaming and give the RTSP sequence is equal to 1 and also sends the request to RTSP socket. Like that, if we see the play button, then it's called play movie. In play movie function, we if status code is equal to ready, then we create the thread and call the listen RTP function. In listen RTP function, we put a while loop for infinite time and we receive the data from the server side. And also we create RTP packet and decode the data and put in RTP packet. We get the sequence number from RTP packet. If current frame number is greater than frame number, then we initialize frame number is equal to current frame number and update movie. For updating movie, we call write frame. Write frame is used to get the cache name of the file name and it's also check that if file have a data or not and also return the cache name. And at last, there was a function called header which is called when we close the GUI interface, then it's pop up the box called are you sure to want to quit? Now I will run the code of video streaming. Now our server is established. Now I am adding new terminal for client. Now when client requests to the server, then GUI is created. Now you can see when I push the setup button, then server is set up for the video streaming. When I play the play button, then video streaming is started and also here data received play. If I push the if I post the video, then data received post and status code is 3. And also in the client side, you can see if I play the video by using play button, then sequence number is going on. And also when I push the pause button, then sequence number stopped. When I press the tear down button, then when I push tear down button, then video streaming will stop and client and server get disconnected.